Good morning, and welcome to today's meeting of the Boston Public Facilities Commission. I'm going to turn this over to TT to do the introductions.
Thank you, Chair Craven. Good morning, Commissioners. The meeting is being recorded and broadcast live. Before we get started, I will now ask Colleen Daly, the PFC Secretary, to take a roll call of the meeting participants. Colleen, if you would please conduct the roll call.
Thank you, TT. Please unmute your device and confirm your presence when I call your name. Beginning roll call with the Commission. Catherine Craven, Chair.
Present.
Larry Mamoli, Commissioner.
Present.
Donald Wright, Commissioner.
Present.
TT Lee, Legal Advisor.
Present.
Catherine Pendleton, Article Clerk.
Present.
And with PFD, Kerry Griffin, Director.
Present.
Brian McLaughlin, Senior Project Manager.
Present.
Ron McNulty, Senior Project Manager.
Present.
Alistair Lux, Project Manager 2.
Present.
I'll read for the record the remainder of the individuals in attendance. Attendees do not need to unmute your device when your name is called. Elizabeth Feltner, paralegal for PFC. Stephen Sirocco, Assistant Director for Construction. Lisa Guscott, Assistant Director for Construction. Evan Brinkman, Assistant Director for Operations. Thank you, and this concludes roll call.
Thank you, Colleen. The first order of business before you this morning concerns draft meeting minutes from the prior Public Facilities Department and Mayor's Office of Housing meetings, which took place on May 17th and June 14th, 2023, and will be approved separately. Chair Craven and Commissioner Mamoli were present at the May 17th, 2023 PFC meeting. Is there a motion to approve the May 17th, 2023 PFD and MWICH meeting minutes?
So moved. Larry, want to give me a second?
Sorry, Larry, I think you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The meeting minutes are approved. And TT, before we go on, I just want to welcome Donald Wright to our ranks as a commissioner. We've been without a third member here since Dion left, I think, so we're really happy that you're here. Welcome aboard.
Thank you very much, Chair Craven and Commissioner Moore.
Thank you, everyone. The May 17, 2023 PFC meeting minutes are hereby approved. The second vote for meeting minutes for June 14, 2023, Commissioner Mamoli and Commissioner Wright were present at this meeting. Is there a motion to approve the June 14th PFD and MOH meeting minutes?
Motion to approve. Second. All in favor? Aye. Aye.
Thank you. The June 14, 2023 PFD and MOH meeting minutes are hereby approved. We are starting this morning with the Public Facilities Department. We have Kerry Griffin, Director of PFD. PFD has 3 vote requests on the agenda for today. Vote number 1 is being presented by Brian McLaughlin. He's the Senior Project Manager with PFD. This vote is a request for amendment to vote of August 18, 2021, regarding a contract with Perkins & Will Architects Incorporated to provide design services associated with the William E. Carter School project located at 396 North Hampton Street in the South End. This is a request for an increase of $315,260 to the contract amount. Brian, if you would please present vote number 1.
Thank you, TT. The Carter School is a public school located on the border of Boston's Lower Roxbury and South End neighborhoods. The current students age between 12 years old and 22. This will expand to 3 years old to 22 years old in the new building. The students present with both severe, intensive disabilities and complex health needs. The school implements a transdisciplinary model to support their students' needs. Teachers, therapists work together on learning objectives to provide individualized, intensive special educational programming. Due to these unique challenges, each classroom is comprised of 5 students, 1 teacher, and 2 teaching assistants. The new 80,000 square foot state-of-the-art Carter School will be built on the existing site to replace a building that was not designed to support the students' needs with this type of disabilities. The school will increase from 5 classrooms to 12 classrooms, doubling the student population upwards of 60. It will establish a Carter School early childhood program allowing the students to start at 3 years old instead of 12 years old, continuing through the age of 22. There will be appropriate state-of-the-art spaces for all educational services and therapies to support students' IEPs. There'll be a literacy commons to enforce the school mission of developing communication and literacy skills in alignment with district goals of equitable literacy instruction for all. There'll also be a therapeutic pool at the school to support OT-PT for all students in an outdoor classroom sensory garden. The Carter School project is partially funded through the MSBA, Mass School Building Authority. During the life of the MSBA project, districts will need to appropriate funds at least 2 times. The first will be to support the feasibility study through schematic design of a project, and upon MSBA schematic design approval, the district will then appropriate the balance of funds to complete the design through construction. The initial PFC Commission vote approved $1,212,000 for this feasibility study phase of the project. This took place on February 12th, 2020. This awarded the Design and Construction Administration Services contract to Perkins Will for the project through October 30th, 2021. Upon MSB approval of schematic design, the appropriation of funds through the City Council to complete the project, the contract was amended by an amendment vote request on August 18th, 2021. At that time, the contract was increased by $6,857,068 and extended the contract to December 19th, 2025. Before you today is the second amendment to the Perkins Will contract. This amendment is requesting $315,260 in additional monies for increased design services specifically related to the subconsultant McPhail & Associates, who will provide geo-environmental engineering services for the Carter School project related to the need for vibration monitoring throughout the construction phase of the project, and additional testing, monitoring, and compliance with the Mass DEP after encountering unforeseen hazardous materials in the soils. Site preparation and site and pre-excavation activities have been ongoing at the Carter site for the past several months. During this time, a significant amount of unforeseen buried obstructions and contaminated soils have been encountered, resulting in the need for additional DEP involvement. We can bring up the PowerPoint presentation. This is the site conditions as of a couple of weeks ago at the end of June. The next slide, please. Unforeseen conditions that were found on the site include multiple building foundations underneath the existing building and throughout the site. The foundation, the bricks within of these foundations contain foundation mastic. Several of these foundations were located across the entirety of the site. Next slide, please. During site prep, 3 unforeseen underground storage tanks were found. Each tank required testing and inspection of McPhail with DEP. Disposal profiles had to be completed defining the contaminants of each tank, and each of these profiles were submitted to the appropriate disposal facilities, making sure that they could accept these types of contaminants at their facility. McPhail also worked with BFD for each one of these tanks to confirm that the material within the tank was removed appropriately and that the tank itself was disposed of in an appropriate manner. Next slide, please. This is the second and third tank that was found. Next slide, please. Finally, in addition to the 3 storage tanks, there was also an oil tank that was discovered that was wrapped in asbestos insulation. McPhail again worked with DEP on testing, coordinating removal of that boiler. In addition to all this work that McPhail did with DEP in the monitoring, they also had to revise the project soil management plan 7 times since the summer of 2022 in order to address all these unforeseen conditions that were found after the existing building came down and site prep started. Thank you for your time with this matter. I look forward to discussing and answering any questions that you may have concerning this amendment vote request.
Great, thanks, Brian. Any questions, Brian?
I have no questions. I actually commend you, considering what you found, got off easy in terms of extra money.
Thank
No
you.
questions.
Okay, any motion? Second?
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Great project, Brian. Much needed.
Thank you, Chair Craig.
Thank you. Vote number 1 is hereby approved. Vote number 2 is being presented by Rowan McNulty, Senior Project Manager with PFD. Vote number 2 is a request for a contract award to Util Incorporated. This is to provide architectural design and construction administration services associated with the South End Library project located at 685 Tremont Street in South End. The contract price is recommended at $679,129. Rowan, if you would please present vote number 2, please.
Thank you, TT, and good morning, Commissioners. I'm here today to request the Public Facilities Commission's approval to execute a contract with Util Incorporated for design services on the South End Library. A request for qualifications for design and construction administration services for the project appeared in the City Record in the Boston Globe on February 27th of 2023, and in the Massachusetts Secretary of State's Central Register weekly posting on March 1st, 2023. Qualifications were due on March 23rd, 2023 at noon. In response to this RFQ, 14 firms submitted statements of qualifications, or SOQs, for the project. These proposals were reviewed and discussed among the Designer Selection Committee members at a public meeting which was held on April 28, 2023. Thereafter, each member evaluated and rated the SOQs for criteria 16, appropriateness for the applicant to be selected for this project. The rankings were then tallied by the Designer Selection Administrator, and the following firms were shortlisted and ranked in order of appropriateness for the project. Number 1, Util Incorporated. Number 2, Udent LO Architecture. Number 3, Anthem Architects. And number 4, Schwartz Silver Architects. Util Incorporated was selected as the top-ranked firm for the project as a result of the firm's experience with libraries, positive feedback from the Boston Public Library staff and from PFD staff on previous library projects, and their extensive experience with community engagement. The existing South End Library has been closed for some time due to multiple floods in the basement, which have damaged the electrical, mechanical, telecommunications, and plumbing systems, along with all supporting cabling and wiring. All of these existing systems have been damaged beyond repair and are in need of replacement. The Public Facilities Department has negotiated an initial fee of $679,129,000, which includes $497,636,000 of the additional services with Util. The proposed fee is consistent with the study and schematic design phases for similar projects such as the Adams Branch Library and the Roxbury Branch Library. This initial award will permit the team to perform a 12-week feasibility study to determine if a renovation, an addition, or a new facility will better suit the City of Boston's budget and need. To understand the feasibility of a renovation, Util and its consultants will undertake a thorough study of the existing library to determine the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and fire protection, envelope, structural, and code considerations included with potential renovation. Util will work in parallel with PFD to determine the most feasible location on which to build a new addition or to renovate the existing facility. As both approaches are weighed, Util will review the existing schemes, or the proposed schemes, I should say, with the community and city staff to better understand cost and schedule impacts for each approach. Once the decision is made on whether to renovate or build new, the team will begin a 12-week schematic design phase, during which I will return to the PFC with an amendment vote request, or ABR, for the balance of design services, which will include design development, construction documents, bidding, and construction administration. Can you bring up the slide deck, please? Thanks, Catherine. Slide number 1 is an aerial view of the South End Branch Library located at 685 Tremont Street in Boston's South End neighborhood. The aerial view also shows the adjacent South End Library Park, which forms an integral part of the library footprint. Next slide, please. Slide 2 shows 2 views of the exterior of the South End Library. One looking northeast along Tremont Street, and the other view looking approximately southeast from within the existing adjacent park. Next slide, please. This final slide shows interior views of the branch reading room and the adjacent support space. If approved, this CVR will be an important piece of the city's goal to reopen the South End Library to the public. Public Facilities Department respectfully requests the Public Facilities Commission's approval of this CVR. Thanks so much for your consideration, and we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
No questions, your presentation answered. Any questions I have?
No questions.
Any motion?
Second?
All in favor? Aye. The ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Vote number 2 is hereby approved. Vote number 3 is being presented by Alistair Lux, Project Manager 2 with PFD. Vote number 3 concerns recommended contract awards to various designers to provide house doctor consulting services for various city facilities, projects, and/or sites. Design review consulting services will be performed on an as-needed basis from July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2028. The contract awards are identified in the agenda and included in the supporting documentation. The agenda identifies that there's a recommended contract price of a not to exceed of $1 million per each individual category for Category 7 Elevator Engineering and Category 13 Landscape Architecture for this 5-year period. Alistair, will you please present your vote request?
Thank you, TT, and good morning, Commissioners. Following information provides an overview of the fiscal year 2024 through 2028 Design Review Consulting Services Project, which is being brought before you for a vote of approval to award design services contracts to multiple firms in Category 7 Elevator Engineering and Category 13 Landscape Architecture. The city publicly advertised for professional design services through a request for qualifications process pursuant to MGL Chapter 7C. The advertisement was submitted for publication in the City Record and the Boston Globe on March 27, 2023. Additionally, the advertisement appeared in the Massachusetts Secretary of State's Central Register weekly posting on March 29, 2023. The contracts manager at PFD also performed outreach via email to an extensive list of vendors from the State Directory of Certified Vendors, soliciting applications from certified businesses. The scope of services for Categories 7 and 13 were detailed in the RFQ, and the term of the FY 24 through 28 Design Review Consulting Services contracts is from July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2028. In response to the RFQ, one firm submitted statement of qualifications for Category 7 and one firm submitted statements of qualification for Category 13 by the SOQ due date of April 12, 2023. The aforementioned proposals were reviewed and discussed by a designer selection committee consisting of 3 staff members from the Public Facilities Department on May 2nd, 2023, and thereafter each member evaluated and rated the SOQs using the evaluation criteria stated in the published RFQ. Next, the rankings were tallied by the designer selection administrator, and the firms were shortlisted and ranked in order of appropriateness for the project on May 2nd, 2023. The rankings were based on experience with similar design review projects for the applicable category, qualifications, and experience with design review of new and renovation Chapter 149, 149A projects, as well as the quality of past design review comments. The Designer Selection Committee recommended one firm for Category 7 and one firm for Category 13 to the Director of the Public Facilities Department as a result of each firm's overall qualifications and experience with design review consulting services. For the record, the following are the firms that were recommended for a design services contract. In Category 7, Elevator Engineering, Siska and Hennessy New England Incorporated, and in Category 13, Landscape Architecture, Ray Dunnett Landscape Architecture Incorporated. No interviews were conducted, and the proposed contract prices are as follows. For Categories 7 and 13, a $1 million maximum amount per contract for a 5-year period. Thus, I'm seeking the Public Facilities Commission approval to award design review consulting services contracts to the above firms. I look forward to discussing and answering any questions you may have, and thank you for your review of this important matter.
Thank you, Alistair. Any questions from the commissioners?
One comment, category 7, correct me if I'm wrong, but basically Sisker and Hennessy is the only company that does vertical transportation, I guess, in New England. Is there any other companies out there that are doing this? Because they're the only ones, I mean, I've never seen anybody else actually submit for elevator engineering.
Yes.
Taylor? Yes, there are some more that, but we did do extensive outreach. We just didn't get the response.
No, I suspect that, and that's why I'm just bringing this up, that it's very limited, that at least vertical transportation, and who would be used and so forth. Other than that, no other questions.
Great.
Questions on my part, just appreciate the extensive outreach.
Great. Thank you. And do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You guys have it.
Thank you. Vote number 3 is hereby approved. This concludes PFD's agenda for today's meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn this portion of the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, so this part of the meeting is adjourned.
Yes, we'll take a 5-minute break, get everybody situated with MOH